2024. And I'm so excited to greet you here and talking to you about a specific topic that is how do we answer our own questions? And by the way, before I dive into it, definitely you come to my webinar this week where I will be talking about what failures to expect in transitioning, and I'll be sharing some of my failures as well and um, some of my clients. So I think this will be very useful for you to who are considering transitioning, whatever that word means to you. So definitely check out my social media post where I have invitations for you to come to the webinar. So coming back to this, how do I answer my own questions? This is something that I have been seeing in several of my conversations with amazing humanitarians, that we have lots of questions in our minds and we don't tend to answer them, or we don't own our answers, and therefore we feel like we just keep having answers and keep overthinking over and over to a point that we just feel like we're stuck or we feel like we're not going anywhere. So if that is you, I would like for you to start noticing some of the sentences, some of the thoughts that you keep having after you ask the question. And then, of course, I will walk you through how you will be answering those questions, right? So let's say that you have a question about transitioning, for instance. So you say, let's say that you want to transition from headquarter position to a field position, or you have a question from about transitioning from a humanitarian sector to a development sector, or from development to humanitarian, or you want to transition out of it altogether. Or maybe you have a question about whether you should give up applying for jobs because you didn't get any jobs so far that you wanted, right? Or maybe you are thinking about starting a family and not really prioritizing your humanitarian work, right? So there might be so many questions like this, and I see that many of my humanitarians struggle answering their own questions. And the reason why they struggle doing this is because they don't really trust their own answers, or they believe there is an answer somewhere else, or someone else may have the answer, and therefore they keep searching for that answer. So when we do that, though, however, we don't really notice that this is what's happening, right? We don't really notice that we're not trusting our own answers. We're not really owning our own answers, even if we have them, right? Or we don't really notice that we are believing that someone else has the answer. And the reason why we don't really notice all of this is because of a lot of very logically sounding reasons that our brains offer to us. And that's why we don't really answer our own questions. So, usually, typically, when I talk to humanitarians, this is what happens. They tell me that they ask me, should I leave my job that is well paid and all of this to go and pursue my family life or creating a family, or should I just stay here and hope for the best? Or should I go to the field when I actually have a very comfortable position here? Or I should just stay here and say, tough, this is how it is, right? So when you have these like, should I assume, like, when I was talking to several of humanitarians, this is what happens. When I start asking them questions, when I say, for instance, what do you think? What do you think the answer to that question, right? Or when I say, why don't you answer your question on your own? Or why do you not want to answer your own question? This is typically what they tell me, right? They tell me that, oh, I don't know what the right answer is, right? You can see that when we say, I don't know what the right answer is, we are actually robbing our own wisdom. Basically, like, if you looked at the meaning of that word or meaning of that thought, what do you think that means? When we say, I don't know what the right answer is, what we mean, right, is that I don't know, but someone might, right? That's what we really mean. Or I cannot really trust my own answer because I keep like vacillating between one or the other, and therefore I don't really want to look at and dig into it because it feels scary, or it feels I may find out things that I don't want to, and therefore I just keep searching for the answer somewhere else, or I just keep like listening to lots of podcasts, or I just keep listening to lots of experts saying things, and then just keep wondering which one is the right one. Now, I'm not suggesting that don't do those things. I'm just suggesting that if you're doing them, be purposeful or intentional as to what you're looking for, right? Because those type of consummation or consumption of information or consumption of advices might be taking you into so many different directions that in the end you may not really know what's your answer to that question, right? So no matter what who are saying, in the end you are the only one who knows the answer, right? So that's why when you keep telling yourself, I don't know what the right answer is, that's basically you fearing owning your own answer or finding out your own answer, or you're not trusting to find out your own answer, and therefore you keep searching for answers somewhere else, because the meaning of that thought, I don't know what the right answer is, you are meaning basically someone else might. The other thing is, I think a lot of people tell me, well, I'm missing information, right? I actually am working with one of my clients on this, and she keeps saying that about everything, right? Everything that she wants to do, then she keeps like searching in the internet and searching lots of YouTube videos as to what the answer is. And she keeps telling herself that she does not have information. Now, when we challenged her brain on, okay, what is the information that you're missing? And where will you exactly get that information? But most importantly, why do you think you don't have that information? Right? When we challenged her on this, because she, as long as she keeps saying that I'm missing information, again, right? It sounds very logical. It sounds like obviously you should have information, and if you don't, then you can't really make a decision, and therefore you don't really answer your own questions. You just keep again searching for the answer somewhere else, because it's another variation of I don't have the info, but others do. Now, of course, there might be a lot of tested information in terms of what others have tried and how it worked, and that's amazing. Experience sharing is amazing, but no matter how other people's experiences were, your experience will be different, right? So that's why if your brain says, I'm missing information, you can either find out what specifically the information you're looking for. And even if you get that information, do you think you will have enough, or your brain will want to keep going for more and more? Because in my client's case, this was just another pattern of her stalling her fear. Basically, it's like our brain's protective mechanism is so smart that it was just trying to protect her from going to face her fear of starting her own business, right? So she wanted to start her own business, and she was afraid, and she kept telling herself that she does not need, or she doesn't have information, she's missing information. And as long as she kept telling herself, she actually kept telling this for 2 years, I think, before she came to me. And then she never started the business that she wanted. She kept telling everyone that she wanted to start this business, and she never did, because she was so in her own mind of never figuring out what exact information she needs. Now, finally, she's in the place where she started the business and facing a lot of her fears. And that's exactly what her brain wanted her to protect from, right? The the other one is when you keep telling yourself or asking yourself or asking maybe even someone, should I do this or should I do that? Right? When you keep telling yourself, again, what the meaning behind that, should I do this, should I do that, is I don't know what's the answer is, right? That's what you're saying to yourself. I don't know what's the answer is. And in that moment, you are again not really allowing yourself to hear your answers because you have answers already, right? You probably, the reason why you're asking, should I do this or should I do that, is there is a desire for you to wanting to go and do the work in the field, for instance, right? And that's why you're asking, should I really stay in my headquarter position that's comfy, or should I go to the field? And the reason why you're even asking that question in the first place is because you really desire doing something in the field. Now, obviously, if you were not afraid of something, you wouldn't be asking that question, right? If you weren't afraid of going and pursuing that thing, or telling this maybe to your partner about, and then hearing the partner's objection to it, right? Maybe you're scared of that. As long as you will not like experience the next steps, you will never give yourself the answer. So for instance, let's say that you are considering going to the field and away from the headquarters. This is one of the topics that I get a lot in, and the question they ask me, should I stay or should I just go to the field, right? And then I ask them, okay, what do you think the answer is? Do you want to go to the field? And they tell me, yes, I do. And then I say, okay, then what's stopping you, right? And then they say, well, I'm afraid if I'm really a field material, I'm afraid if my partner will support me in this, I'm afraid if this will work out, I'm afraid if I should really risk um, my comfortable life in headquarters when I know exactly what's going on, and instead just going to the field, right? You have a lot of this. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of this. These are the next level of layers of questions your brain asking. Basically, when you say, I'm afraid if this is going to work out, you are basically saying you are afraid. Now, when we are having this type of questions, our brains again don't really go to the, okay, what are we going to do about it? Right? Our brains don't seem to go there. We're most often in the overthinking period of, okay, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, I'm afraid of talking to my partner about this, I'm afraid of leaving everything behind. But if we keep in that I'm afraid, we will never find the answer to our question, right? It's just the fear telling us that everything could go wrong. And that's what fear often does. And the other thing is, when you're saying I'm afraid, what the meaning is behind is that I need some type of assurance from someone that this will work out, right? But again, there is no one who will give you an assurance. It's only you who can give yourself an assurance. And we will never know things until we are there as well, right? We already know that we can't foresee things into the future. But what we can do is we can promise ourselves to make things work no matter what the obstacle will arise, because we want to do that field work, for instance, right? So that's why you can see that when we are saying these type of very logical sounding answers to our questions and then they don't really satisfy, it's because we're not really answering every layer of those questions. That's the other reason, right? So we are not really asking the question, like the answering the question of, okay, I'm afraid this will not work. Then the question you can ask yourself is, okay, what are you going to do about that fear? Right? Are you going to solve for that fear? Are you going to figure out how to overcome that fear? Do you not want to overcome that fear? These are the next layers of questions. Or if you say, I'm afraid to talk to my partner about it because he or she will judge me or tell me not to go, or all of those things, right? Now, we will not find out the outcome of that conversation unless we actually have the conversation with that person, right? Just because we keep telling ourselves, I'm afraid of this, I'm afraid of that, things will not change unless we then decide what to do with that fear, right? So the same goes for, let's say I'm afraid of making a decision, right? Let's say that you have thought things through and then you went so far to say, okay, let's make a decision. And when you made like let when you came to that phase and you decided, okay, I want to make a decision, then your brain will be saying, well, I'm afraid of making decision, or your brain may say, yes, okay, this is the decision, and then want to back out, right? So that's why in those moments you are actually the one who are either trusting yourself to make the decision and own and pursue it, or um, trying to get away from it, or not owning it, or keep searching for the answer, or keep doubting. And that will just keep you in that state of keep asking a lot of questions, keep delaying what you want, and not really experiencing what you want to go to the other side of the tunnel, because you are going to stay in that unknown state. And that unknown state is not really good for our psyche. We really like being stable and certain. We don't really like um, having lots of questions, and that's why we don't really feel this peace within. We don't really feel calmness, groundedness, groundedness, right? And therefore, we just keep creating even more questions. So, I think I have depicted to you A, what kind of questions you will be having, and B, how your brain will be proposing to you lots of logical sounding answers in terms of um, well, I don't know what it is, or I'm afraid it's going to go wrong, or I'm missing some information, and then keep searching for the answers. Or you then notice your brain's patterns and then decide how you will answer them. So, here is what I suggest for you to do if you are having difficulty answering your question, right? Whatever the question is, whatever, like, let's say even that I don't want to be feeling powerless anymore, right? Or even like you're not transitioning, but you're just in your everyday life and in humanitarian world, and you are frustrated with certain things, and you tell yourself, oh, I don't want to be doing this anymore. What is the answer, right? So how can I not do this anymore? For instance, let's say that's your brain's answer question. When you have these questions, this is what I suggest you do. Um, First, write down, just like I always do, write down your question onto paper. And paper and writing down is super useful. If you are the computer person, absolutely do that too. Whatever feels comfortable to you, write down your answer. And write down then all your answers to that question, all the possible answers to that question. Now, let's say that your question is, should I just keep going and applying for the positions internationally, or positions in this place, even though I haven't gotten the answer yet, or if even though I haven't received the response yet, right? Shall I, or should I just keep doing this, or should I just give up? Excuse me. Let's say this is your question. Now answer your own question from the place of trust and from the place of you are the only one who knows the answer. No one else knows the answer. You're the only one knows the answer. Let's say if you really trusted yourself that you can get that job, if you really trusted your abilities that you can get that uh, transitioning, or you can make that transitioning work, or you can make this other plan work, or you can make it work in the way that you don't feel powerless anymore. Let's say that your trust in yourself and in your ability, and you rely on that, you feel that, and from that feeling, you answer that question. What would be your own question, own answer? Let's imagine there is no one else, or there is no way you can find out the answer anywhere else. You're the only person who can answer them. Let's imagine that's the case. How would you answer that question? Imagine if, like, asking others or keep searching for answers somewhere else were not the option, then how would you answer that? Maybe your answer would be, yes, I want to continue if I really believed that I could do this. Or, no, I don't want to because I want to prioritize something else. Whatever your answer is, write them down, right? Now, when you write them down, you'll notice that you will have doubts coming up. But what if this is the right answer? Maybe it's not the right answer. Who knows the right answer? All of these things will come out, right? Am I making the mistake of my life? Am I not making the mistake? Or all of these things. And then again, answer them. So if you cannot answer them with a question. So usually you can say, you can ask yourself, how do I know it's a mistake? How do I know it's the right answer? How do I know it's this one or that one, right? And then you may say, I would feel it. I would feel if it's the right answer. I'm not feeling it, for instance. Okay, then check with yourself. How would you feel it? If you felt like this is the answer to go with, how would you feel? Because oftentimes I think when we are answering our questions, because we're not used to answering our own questions, we we answer our questions, we know what the answer is deep down, but we have difficulty owning that answer. Now, if that is the case, like let's say that you know what the answer is, right? Let's say that your answer is yes, you should keep applying for that job. Or your answer is yes, you should go to that field position after all, because that's where your heart is wanting to go. Let's say that's really like deep down, that's your answer, but there are lots of other reasons why you are not able to say yes to that. Then let's sit in that answer, like feel and own that answer of, yes, this is what I want to do. But I can also see and observe my brain is afraid of these things and write them down too. So, for instance, your answer to your question is, yes, I want to do this. I want to go to that field position. But here are the things that I'm afraid of. And they are very valid reasons to be afraid of. And then once you write them down, so I'm afraid that this will not work. Okay, what exactly will not work? And how will you make it work? I'm afraid I won't be able to convince my partner. Okay, how do you want to communicate with the partner so that they understand what you're really wanting, what your heart is wanting? Because usually when our heart is wanting something, we are very honest with ourselves and with other people, and we tell them, and then they are supportive, right? They're usually supportive because they say that, yes, I can sense that you really want this. I don't know how this is going to work with our relationship or all the other things, but let's try to make it work. This is probably usually what our partners will say, right? So you can see that instead of solving or keep searching for answers somewhere else, keep consuming different um, information, different reels, different YouTube or whatever it is, instead of keep searching or consuming lots of different information and hoping for the answer from someone else, let's get the answers from ourselves, right? And the way that you can really do it is actually sit down and asking yourself the question more seriously, and then also answering yourself seriously, trusting your answer. And if you feel like you cannot really own your answer, then get curious as to why you're not owning your answer, right? So even though deep down you know this is what you want, why are you not owning it? Maybe there is a fear. Okay, what kind of fear? What can you do about it? Right? Instead of like keep asking them, let's go to one level, two levels, three levels deeper into answering them and then solving for the actual problems. Is it that you're afraid to make decisions? Okay, then you can learn how to make a decision, right? That's a skill you can learn. Is it you don't know how to do or what to do with your fear? Okay, there's lots of resources you can find out about, or you can get coached. You can learn how to feel all of your feelings. There are solutions to that, right? Is it you are really missing a particular information? Okay, what is that specific information that will help you make a decision? Right? So, in other words, I really want you to like see for yourself, um, when is it that you're actually needing outside information to solve for something, to answer for your own question, or when is it that you're just not trusting yourself, your own answers, and therefore you keep just searching for answers somewhere else. And I really want you to like embody the identity of the person who has who always answers their own questions, who trust their own answers, who are willing to find out the answers, the wisdom within, because they truly believe that they have all the resources, the wisdom within that they can get out of instead of keep searching for somewhere else on the internet. Right? I really want you to embody that identity, because what that identity will help you is it will not keep you in this overthinking process. Excuse me, it will not keep you delaying things that you really want to pursue. It will instead help you to get into, even if you have doubts or you have fears, you will always know how to respond to them or how to react to them and what to do with them. You will even recognize when those type of fears or second guessing are interfering with you and with what you're pursuing, right? And therefore, I really want you to embody that identity of the person who knows what the right answer is, who knows how to respond to them, who knows how to actually get a help of a coach or someone that you trust to really walk you through and then get into your own wisdom, right? I really want to um, help you develop this identity of someone who knows how to answer their own questions, how to solve for them, how to go and make sure that those things that you are answering, the decisions you're making, you implement them instead of just sitting in the I don't know what the answer is, or I don't know how to solve for them, or keep solving for creating more questions instead of actually moving forward in your journey and solving for new questions every time. So, my dears, if this is you having lots of questions and you don't really know how to answer them, or you tried and you're not able to do that, then absolutely come coach with me. I would love to help you to get your answers in the way that is coming from a place of trust, coming from a place of groundedness, from loving, and not from fear or scarcity or panic or whatever other places. And also, I would love to help you not only give yourself the answers, but owning them and implementing them. And that's all we're going to do also in my retreat in person in Kyrgyzstan. So I would love to have you there as well, so we can work on all the answers, all the questions you have, and answer them so that you can even start feeling the effect of it immediately by sleeping well the night when you have answered all of your questions. Have a beautiful Monday, everyone. I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you so much.